the newest member of the Denver Broncos, right tackle DeMar Dotson. Now, when you're out there on the practice field, you're easy to spot. You're actually the tallest Bronco ever. You're already in the record books.
6'9" is a height that is more common in the NBA, but in the NFL, this is the height that is the tallest of any current player. The guys that pull their jerseys every Sunday with this height is just straight massive when adding their shoulder pads and helmets. They literally look like giants. Think of it this way. Christian McCaffrey and Ezekiel Elliott are both halfbacks in the NFL, and they typically are either going to get pummeled by a defensive line or a linebacker or a safety, or they're going to get protected by an offensive lineman. And they are 5'11" and 6 foot respectively. So when you have a 6'9" lineman on the field against a potentially 5'11" running back, one's going to look like David and one is literally going to look like Goliath. But on top of that, the tallest NFL player in the game didn't necessarily just luck into success just because he was a super freakishly tall athlete. He had to work extra hard, overcome all the odds against him with basically zero football playing experience in order to create a career for himself that has lasted more than a decade long. So what's going on, guys? Your boy Mike here. Before we get to the content, do me a favor and sack the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Every like pushes this video to a larger audience of people that are interested in good NFL content so they could click on the video, and also subscribe and turn on our notifications. Now that we get all that out of the way, break! Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everyone? This longtime NFL veteran has also been nicknamed the Gentle Giant. What are the odds of that? Not exactly what a menacing NFL player wants to be called, but when you're standing at 6'9" tall and 315 pounds, DeMar Dotson is constantly at least a half a foot taller than most of the other NFL players on a field. However, DeMar Dotson has had some bad luck, as after spending 11 seasons with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which was the team who originally signed him as an undrafted free agent outside of Southern Mississippi in 2009, you see, he would never win a division title and never even saw a playoff bonus check, as he was cast away to a lowly NFL team just months before Tampa Bay made their impressive, and let's be real, totally expected Super Bowl run. However, DeMar was pretty lucky in other ways, because getting a chance to even play in the NFL as an offensive lineman is not only extremely prestigious, but practically guarantees you financial security for the rest of your life, especially if you've been playing in the NFL since the year of 2009. And the fact that this man hasn't played a snap of football prior to the age of 23 makes this feat even more impressive. He didn't just not play college football, but DeMar didn't even play high school football, middle school football, or even participate on a youth team. So how did this tallest NFL player even get the chance to play professional football? Let's find out. Dotson, growing up, always dreamed of being a basketball player. I mean, he was nearly 6'7" at 14 years old, but as a freshman, he couldn't even make a layup and thus didn't make a basketball team. However, he worked hard, which was a tradition that would continue through his entire life, and he eventually made the high school team and excelled, being named to Louisiana's All-State team with a 22 point per game average, and set his hopes in someday making the NBA. Although Mississippi State wanted him to come play center for their basketball team, he first needed to attend junior college, and it was what he called in a cornfield in the middle of Illinois. He earned the grades to eventually join the Division I Southern Mississippi basketball team. However, towards the end of his collegiate career, Dotson realized that he just didn't have the talent to join the NBA. He continued to play basketball his senior season, but as a backup center who made just 1 field goal and 3 rebounds in his final game. It looked like as if his athletic career was officially over. So DeMar would continue to play basketball, although it wasn't necessarily for much. One fateful day, in his final basketball season in college, the Southern Mississippi football players would take a look at this gargantuan 6'9" human being and how well he guarded on the basketball court, and thought that he might be able to quickly transfer those skills to a football field. However, it took a little more for these players and Dotson to convince the football coaches at Southern Miss to take a chance on a literal giant. Dotson sat down in the office of the Southern Mississippi head coach Larry Fedora, armed with zero football playing experience, but with a God-given weapon of his 6'9", 300-pound sized body. To give you an idea of how large that is, LeBron James is currently listed officially as 6'9" and 250 pounds. And this dude literally has 50 pounds on LeBron James. Now bear in mind, despite all this information being relayed to the head coach of Southern Mississippi, it didn't necessarily happen right away. The first conversation between Fedora and Dotson went along the lines of this. "What position did you play in high school?" Fedora asked. "I didn't play football in high school," Dotson said. "Okay, well, junior high school, what position did you play then?" "I didn't play football in junior high school." "Okay, well, Pop Warner then, the last time you played, what position?" And what Dotson volunteered next caught Fedora by surprise. "I've never played football before." Larry Fedora was completely fascinated at just the sheer size of Dotson, and would dig a little deeper on if he had the real potential, and asked Dotson's basketball coach about his work ethic. The basketball coach said it was solid, one of the best that he had ever witnessed, which would kind of convince Fedora to give Dotson a second look. But what would officially seal the deal was when the basketball coach told Fedora that Dotson benched 400 pounds easily. That sealed it. On the first day of spring practice, Dotson didn't even know how to put on football pads and had his teammates assist him. With only one semester to learn the game, the Southern Mississippi coaching staff were puzzled where to put Dotson, especially when they realized quickly that the tight end position, which is where most ex-basketball players end up on the football field, was completely out of the question. So DeMar Dotson would not be able to follow in the paths of other great tight ends like Julius Thomas and Jimmy Graham, because DeMar was completely incapable of catching a football. Instead of taking the time to teach him the offensive line system, the Southern Mississippi staff actually put him on the defensive line, telling Dotson to essentially just go and tackle the guy who has the football. This was his first and only season of collegiate football. DeMar finished with 2 tackles and admitted that one was when the running back literally ran right into his chest. Although he was showing potential, Dotson was out of NCAA eligibility but had a brand new dream: to pursue the National Football League, despite only having 2 tackles in his lone collegiate season. Luckily for Dotson, Southern Mississippi had some future NFL players and NFL scouts that had been around that season, with the size of Dotson sparking interest in one NFL scout in particular. That man was an individual by the name of Dom Green. Dom Green was a NFL scout from Tampa Bay who came up to Dotson and told him he looked like he belonged on an offensive line. That spring, Green returned to Dotson's Southern Miss and ran him through a workout, at the same time teaching him some offensive line moves. The NFL draft was quickly approaching, and Dotson had a sense that he would go to the NFL. Dotson had so much hope and faith and confidence as big as his stature. Despite only playing 1 year of football, DeMar Dotson kinda liked his chances. I mean, would you tell a 6'9", 300-pound potential monster no if he was interested in playing football? Dotson actually worked at a car dealership part-time in college, and even told his boss that it would be his last day the day before the draft, as he was destined to play in the NFL. At the end of the NFL draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers gave Dotson a call and invited him to work out with the team for 3 days during rookie minicamp, but he would need to fly to Tampa Bay on his own expense. What Dotson said in response would actually surprise a lot of you, because you'd expect the man to say, "Of course, right away, sir, I'm jumping on a plane to pursue this dream of playing in the NFL." But Dotson actually told the front office of Tampa Bay no thanks, because he wasn't able to afford a plane ticket to Florida, and suddenly his big dreams and luck seemed to have disappeared. Then Dotson's phone rang, and Tampa Bay actually offered to fly him in for the workouts. Here's where DeMar Dotson's story sounds like a made-for-TV underdog script. Dotson shows up to NFL minicamp with no cleats. He didn't realize that he would need them in the workouts. However, Dotson, at 6'9", wore a size 18 cleat, a cleat that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers equipment staff did not have, and the employees actually cursed him out for requesting cleats. Remember, he hadn't actually made the team yet, so the equipment guys did offer a 16, and he wore the cleats. His feet were completely blistered as they were 2 sizes too small, and he had to wear them for 2-a-day workouts. By the second day, Dotson literally cut off the end of the cleat with scissors, and with his toes hanging out, his feet began to bleed from the opposing blockers stepping on them. So he had no other choice and switched to the only other shoes he had brought with him: basketball shoes. Although other players were laughing, probably quietly where he wouldn't hear, at the Giant who was wearing the wrong shoes, Tampa Bay Buccaneers coaches saw that if he was willing to compete for an NFL roster spot sliding around in basketball shoes, Dotson was the kind of guy that they wanted on their team. After 3 days of gruesome bleeding feet, slipping on the field, and not understanding the vernacular of basically any and every offensive play, DeMar Dotson received an official invite to the July 2009 Tampa Bay Buccaneers training camp. That summer, DeMar Dotson wrote on a tiny piece of paper that his brand new goal was to make the 53-man roster for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Dotson, the tallest man on the Tampa Bay field and who would be tied for the tallest player in the NFL for years, quickly showed the coaching staff that he had the tools and, more importantly, the big will to earn the right to wear the NFL shield. It took about 3 seasons for Dotson to develop, and by year 4, Dotson became a starter at the right tackle position. He was a soft-spoken NFL lineman, ironic for a man his size, and would rather lead by example than use his southern booming voice that he was capable of drawing everyone's attention to. His method worked. He battled through injuries to be a consistent force on the offensive line, while the rest of the Tampa Bay offense and defense put up average seasons that were at times more than laughable. However, Dotson's luck would run out in a sense, as he would not have the chance to play for the Lombardi, as the 2019 season would be Dotson's last in a Bucs number 69 jersey. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers went into the 2020 NFL Draft looking for a change in right tackle, as Dotson's 3-year, $16 million contract he had signed a few years earlier was up, and he was officially a free agent. The Bucs traded up in last year's NFL Draft to select 6'5" right tackle Tristan Wirfs in the first round. That left Dotson, who turned 35 years old in the fall, finishing off his career 1,500 miles away, far from the NFL home that he had always known, the place that took a chance on him, and thus he gave his all for 11 seasons. "I wasn't ready to hang him up," Dotson said. "Tampa Bay probably thought I was ready to hang him up. They didn't want to bring me back and give me an opportunity to play with Tom." This past season, the Denver Broncos signed DeMar Dotson to a 1-year, $400,000 guaranteed and $100,000 bonus if he made the 53-man roster for Week 1. There was another $3 million incentive structure built into his contract as well. In the 2020 season, Dotson not only made the 53-man roster, but also started 8 games for the 5-11 AFC West team. Dotson may not have ever made a Pro Bowl or was even close to being given an All-Pro nod, but that was probably because Tampa Bay was pretty terrible for the 11 seasons he was there. Dotson, the gentle giant, displayed consistency in a position that is perhaps one of the most grueling, as he was responsible for stopping a menacing defense from getting to his quarterback. As of the 2020 season, Dotson has started in 114 NFL games and played in 138. Not bad for a player who didn't play any football prior to the age of 23. This giant quietly made a career for himself and is now sharing his experience and leadership with young offensive linemen in the NFL. Oh, and DeMar Dotson is now fully capable of affording a plane ticket to Tampa and all the size 18 cleats he wants. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like and let us know if you want us to cover the tallest NFL player in NFL history. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.